Across the Spider-Verse is amazing. A brilliant movie I couldn't recommend higher. And it reminded me that I've never actually played the Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales game, despite my love for all things Spidey. So here we are. And what better way to play than to make it so I'm not allowed to die? And just to really ensure I suffer, I'm also not allowed to heal. If I do die, then I have to restart the entire game over with. Usually, I just focus on beating the story. But today, let's do it differently and beat the game to 100% with these rules. Maybe I should play on Friendly Neighborhood difficulty, you think? That seems fair, right? I can't die in that one. If only. So, can you 100% Spider-Man Miles Morales without dying or healing on Spectacular difficulty? Let's find out, my fellow web-slingers. Spoilers ahead. We start our story right in the thick of it. While helping to transport a prison convoy, some perfectly understandable convoy destroying mistakes occur, and out pops my good buddy Rhino and a bunch of prisoners. While no trouble to take down, I don't appreciate the scripted healing tutorial. Where did that damage come from? Indigestion? When I try to avoid even the scripted healing, I just manage to take more damage as the game refuses to let me do anything else but heal. It's scripted, so who cares, but still, curses. Chasing down Rhino is a fun time to be had unless you're the many hapless civilians almost getting trampled. But hey, almost trampled is a whole lot better than actually trampled. Rhino was zero threat in the last game. I guess this is what happens when a bunch of very convenient objects aren't around to drop on him. But never fear, the new Spidey's here. And so is the most perfectly timed new superpower, Venom! No, not that Venom. Though it is odd the choice to name a huge superpower of Spider-Man's the same name as one of Spidey's most famous foes. I can't wait to use Venom on Venom in Spider-Man 2. Until then, Rhino gets a fistful of it and goes down with ease. Peter is thankfully still alive, and we head off for pizza time. This is where Peter reveals he's gonna leave the city for a few weeks so that Miles can have a solo Spider-Man game. Funny enough though, he's only now telling Miles this, but he apparently took the time to build a bunch of training simulations for Miles. That probably took at least a day of work for Peter, but he didn't think to tell Miles sooner that the fate of New York rests on his shoulders alone now? Yeah, that sounds like Peter. I freely admit that it took me an hour to complete all the combat and traversal challenges my first time on Ultimate level instead of looking into a nearby break-in. But it works out anyway because despite taking so long to get there, the criminals are still there. Not the most efficient criminals I've ever seen, but cool looking for sure. With that break-in dealt with, Miles goes home to stare at a bunch of objects in his house as though he's never seen any of them before. What an odd guy. Miles' old friend Finn, who he hasn't seen in forever, shows up for Christmas dinner, and then we're back to helping. First up, Aaron Davis, aka Miles' uncle, who needs help fixing the trains. And by fixing, that means fighting a heavily armed young mafia called the Underground, who are using bombs to blow it all up. Fun, fun. Thankfully, they just stare at me as I chuck their bombs wildly above traffic. Perfectly safe disposal, I'm sure. Miles' uncle reveals he knows Miles is Spider-Man, which in this outfit, I'm not even sure I know he's Spider-Man. I then immediately become the best Spidey when I rescue a cat and take a bit to pet him. I'm sure the city can fend for itself for a bit while I give the little cutie lots of love. Unfortunately, when I finally finish petting Spider-Man the cat, I've lost all my sense. This means when I get to stopping a random crime, I get myself killed. Probably shouldn't have let them shoot at me so much in order to do perfect dodges, but hey, learning to dodge bullets is an essential Spidey skill. Sadly, the thing about practicing to dodge bullets is, well, most people don't get more than one practice attempt, and even Spidey only gets a few before practice has to end permanently. I got 24% of the game done at least. If I know my math, that's like halfway, right? On we go to try again. Sadly, the beginning 2-minute cutscene followed by another 2-minute cutscene are both unskippable. In fact, half of the cutscenes in this game are unskippable because the developers hate me. I kick Rhino's horn, get stuck on the challenges again for a while, especially the stupid, evil, frickin' dumb, knock out 10 guys in a minute while in the air challenge, and then I beat all the Underground again. I stop a bunch of crimes, including the one that killed me last time, mainly by not waiting around to get shot at. Go figure, and even meet up with Finn to have flashbacks of when we were young and happy. Now, we're young and almost dying every day, but that's what living in New York in the Marvel Universe is like. Like later tonight, when the Underground strikes yet again at Miles' mom's rally against Roxxon, the evil energy company that's the main target of the Underground, who are also evil, but in a cooler, more purple way. I halt their attack at the rally and race to stop them at a bridge, but here's where their leader, the Tinkerer, attacks. She's revealed to be Finn, because, of course. What? Did you think we are in a world where the supervillain isn't someone very close to the superhero? That would make too much sense, and frankly, be less emotionally complex, which in turn would make Spider-Man's life easier. And if there's one thing we know, it's that Spider-Man's life can't ever seem to be easy. Miles' Venom powers accidentally blow up the Nuform energy that the Underground was attempting to steal, and this leads to a bridge explosion. It also leads to me being a hit away from death in the following fight, but thankfully most of the enemies were sleepy by the time I got that low. No rest for the unskilled though, as I have to race to save all the citizens from dying by bridge death. Really, no Spider-Man should have anything to do with crime over water. It just never goes well for them, especially for bridges. Not a good track record there. At least Miles manages to save everyone, but I feel that being cartoon Miles might have taken from the emotional turmoil as the Roxxon soldiers nearly shoot him despite his heroics. Spider-Man does what we all wish we could do when faced with gunmen, or almost equally dangerous, judgmental peers, and turns invisible. Camouflage is absolutely vital for this challenge, as it is key to escaping any fight that's going extra bad and then using stealth to pick off the foes. Too bad I often forget it exists, or it loves to be on cooldown when I need it. Now with Roxxon hunting me and Miles' old best friend on a holy criminal crusade against Roxxon, the only thing to do is procrastinate. Yep, time to hunt around the city, fighting random crimes, helping look for cute little cats, and collecting a bunch of time capsules. But the cat part is most important, I'd say. I finally make my way to Finn's repair shop, where I discover the truth of what led her down this dark path. Very helpful of her to leave videos to give you the exposition I need most. Here's what we know. Her brother was the top Roxxon scientist on their Nuform energy project, but it makes people really sick. Simon Krieger, evil bad guy in charge, says, who cares? Money, 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 money. Brother and her try and stop him, bad things happen, and now only Finn remains to fight them. I'd totally be on her side if her plan didn't involve a criminal gang who regularly engages in kidnapping, bombs, and a multitude of other crimes. Great motive though. Better go help find evidence of Roxxon's murder of her brother. Or, hear me out, I can go do more of Peter's challenges. The stealth ones aren't much trouble, and neither is his final challenge, but Hollow Vulture is a blast to fight. Boss fights in these games are rarely difficult, but they are always a blast, especially listening to Peter mimicking the Vulture.
Why won't you let me commit my senseless, overly dramatic crimes in peace?
With that done, it's onwards to getting that evidence. That's when I'm ambushed by the Prowler, but like in a nice way. The Prowler is Miles' uncle, and is actually here to protect him from Roxxon. Finally, someone with skills who's not trying to kill me for once. A true miracle. It's easy to stealth take down the base and find the evidence, but Miles won't leave without destroying the reactor. This means draining it all into himself before releasing in a violent explosion, which, of course, fries the phone with the murder evidence. Fantastic. Couldn't we have set that somewhere safe, or messaged the video to another device, or multiple devices before trying to drain an unstable reactor using your own body, Miles? Guess that would have been too easy. At least escaping the base with Prowler's help proves no trouble. I run off and help other people in Harlem, like saving this woman from these kidnappers, or getting all the supplies stolen by those same kidnappers back to the rightful owners, or even by fixing the plumbing at the homeless shelter. Huh. That last one's a bit different than the others, but I guess Spidey really can do it all, long as whatever it is involves punching some people along the way. And so many people want to get punched, it seems. Roxxon's security is quite heavy at each of their bases, but the first one I go against requires a 60-hit combo to progress. I'm used to 60-hit combos not being hard in the first Spider-Man game, and plenty of parts for this game, but I really struggled here against Roxxon. I faced close calls as I barely won the fight, yet failed to get the 60-hit combo, so I'd have to restart the fight time and again. Finally, I no longer need to worry about it because I'm dead, and no longer have to worry about anything at all, except maybe about haunting Peter for letting me die while he's off having a vacation. 55% this time, eh? Getting closer. That's like quadruple the last run. Unfortunately, this third run ends right at the 2-hour mark when I get beaten by two guys wielding giant metal fists on the bridge. I told you, keep Spider-Man away from bridges. The fourth run actually has a pretty good start with the challenges going by pretty fast, but then my life also ends pretty fast by another heavy-handed thug. I'm really starting to hate those guys. I take the time to pet Spider-Man for a bit like I do every run, barely get touched on the bridge fight, and even set about eating more pigeons like all Spider-Men do. Though I take extra long in grabbing the birdies, as I prefer to fully listen to the pigeon facts that Peter left recorded for me.
Over 200,000 carrier pigeons were used during World War II. The birds delivered messages when conventional means failed, and saved countless lives.
Which, once again, I need to point out, he created a whole set of pigeon facts on the off chance that Miles helps catch them, instead of ever letting Miles know that Peter'd be leaving for several weeks. You know what? I don't even blame him here. Always gotta have more animal facts. Finally making it back to the Roxxon labs, it goes much better this time. That's not to say it goes well, but I don't die, and while it takes plenty of reattempts, I do complete all 3 labs with all bonus objectives achieved. I'm just so thankful for the power of cowardice, camouflage, so that I can survive whenever things go poorly. If I didn't have bonus objectives plus a need to prove myself, I'd probably never leave stealth. Winning those, Miles decides to meet with Finn for some coffee and life-changing news. He reveals he knows she's the Tinkerer, but doesn't tell that he's Spidey, which of course won't backfire horribly later. Since they're old friends, she brings him along to Fisk Tower, which happens to be the Underground's HQ. When Miles has to leave unexpectedly, 2 seconds later, Spider-Man shows up and knocks everyone out. Listen, you don't have to think that Miles and Spider-Man are the same person, but you'd think there'd be some suspicion that Miles at least snitched where your HQ is, eh, Finn? You genius, you? Nope. Alright, works with me. With the Underground's HQ beaten, I now know where to find all their secret bases. They happen to be squatting in the construction sites that all criminals seem to use as a haven, like in the first game. Is that a thing? Are construction sites the true bane of society, only building up criminal empires, and not that Sweet Tomatoes restaurant I've been waiting for? Curses! That's enough for my villain origin story for sure. These fights are incredibly tough for me. Much, much harder than the construction site fights of the first game. Which honestly, gotta point out, is it just me, or is this game remarkably harder than the first game? Maybe it's just because it's my first time, but the Underground seems more difficult in much more of them than the demons or even Sable from the first game. Maybe not, or maybe they are and I'm just too used to bulldozing through fights and not using camo to hide like crazy. I admit the Venom power is a huge lifesaver as well, but I have to be careful about using it long enough to pull off the bonus objectives first. With that done, I'm ready to grab the dangerous new form that the Underground has stolen and hightail it out of there. Unless, of course, Finn shows up and we get to go on a dramatic chase throughout the city. Finn, if you want me to believe you're not a real baddie, could you please not shoot all these buildings with explosions, including all that fly past me? That really seems like extreme reckless endangerment. And if you could not almost kill me with your spiky death wheels, that would be great as well. Instead of listening though, Finn holds Miles at blade point until he reveals himself to her. Of course, like a fool, he looks over his shoulder for a second, and when he looks back, she's vanished. Well, if things don't work out for her in the villain department, maybe Batman will take her on after such a skilled trick like that. Maybe he'll take me on, cause this whole hero gig is not working out at all as I attack the last of the construction sites, and while things go great for a bit, I manage to lose nearly all my health in one terrible moment. Moving as stealth, I try and wipe out the rest, and very nearly succeed. That is till 0 of the normal warning, I'm sniped right from the air. Yep, no warning at all, no sniper line, not even a gun line of warning. Heck, my spider sense didn't even go off. Who even sniped me? God? You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. Well, there goes my 70% run. Only thing to do now is cry into my pizza rolls and begin again. My 6th run goes about as well as my last one, but things go extra south in Fisk Tower, and instead of using proper stealth, I try and fight my way through. Not a smart move, and I take so much damage that even though I win the fight, I don't have any to spare for the next fight. Here we go again. I pet the cat, almost die on the bridge, fight lots of Roxxon, help save Harlem from a criminal takeover, infiltrate the Underground, and then unceremoniously die fighting at one of their construction sites. Oh, and I'm pretty sure while stopping people from robbing a toy drive, I killed a dude. But don't worry, I think I made it look not so bad with some photography skills. I'm also pretty sure I killed that same dude on my 2nd run when I knocked him into the water and he never came back up. Fate isn't kind to him. Here we go one last time. Pet the cat, almost out of Roxxon, stop lots of crimes, and then actually do die to Roxxon. Excellent. Pet the cat time, fight lots of crime, die fighting Roxxon again. It seems I really like to die around the 55% to 70% mark. Just enough to give me hope before ripping it away. Alright, I got this. Here we go one last time. Number 10 is the charm. It's here I figure out car chases are way easier if I use camo. Though I got so caught up in that, I almost forgot to free their kidnapped victim from the trunk of the car. And when I pull her out, I accidentally chuck the trunk lid at her. Other than the fact that when she talks no sound comes out, I'm sure she's fine.
It's okay now. You're safe.
Finally, getting the hang of Miles' combat, I was able to take down all of Roxxon's labs and the construction sites. Using lots of camo and getting the enemies in a small space for maximum venom effect are both fantastic tactics. While meeting with Finn to figure things out, Rhino, now working for Roxxon, managed to capture us both, which leads to a less than pleasant time. I didn't realize till later that the Mega Venom Blast I was forced to use here actually heals you on use, so I avoid using it any further in the game. Rhino tries to halt us from leaving, and he very nearly succeeds at ending my run. Thankfully, every phase of boss combat heals me back up to full, which is acceptable since it's not me doing the healing. Beating Rhino with Finn, things seem great for our future, except now in her rage, Finn turns on me. Because, of course, if she turned reasonable now, where would our final boss fight be? Only problem, her plan to destroy Roxxon will, unbeknownst to her, lead to all of Harlem going bye-bye. I attempt to chase her down, but get stopped by my uncle kidnapping me. 1 second he's giving me a cool new suit and helping Miles out with music. The next he's locking me in an abandoned subway station and very nearly killing me in combat. Family, right? Nice to see Miles going through such a relatable time. I really was terrified this whole fight. Prowler, at heart, is an easy fight, tactics-wise, like most bosses. But should he manage to hit at all, a huge chunk of health will be ripped away, and this being my first time fighting him, I was less than prepared. But with a very zealous use of Venom, I was able to barely pull through, only to nearly die fighting the Underground a short while later while trying to stop Finn. Only heavy use of camo and stealth saved me there. Finally, it was time to face Finn in combat. I may have never fought her before, but come on, like I've said, the Spider-Man bosses are usually the easiest part of these games. Unless it goes like Prowler, that is. Well, no, it's so much worse than Prowler. The Tinkerer kills me nearly immediately. But after nearly 44 hours of this challenge, I was ready to call it quits, so I pushed onwards, accepting the loss of the challenge, but wanting to see the game through. She killed me 9 times over the course of the fight, really proving that she seems to be the hardest Spider-Man boss I've ever faced. Well, frick. Beating her, it was very inspiring to watch Miles push through tremendous pain to absorb the new form reactor so it wouldn't blow up Harlem, and just as moving to watch Finn sacrifice herself to save everybody by taking her best friend into the sky so he could release the energy without anybody else dying. Very, very moving, I admit. And it's here when I learned that the missions are replayable that an idea sprang to mind. Shout out to my friends for encouraging me to try one last time, because after practicing the Tinkerer boss until I could beat her without taking damage, I restarted the game yet again. Let's do this one last time. Beat Rhino, pet the cat, stop a bunch of crime, collect a bunch of collectibles, do the challenges, do some plumbing, kick Roxxon butt, kick Underground butt, save Harlem from thugs, get kidnapped, beat Rhino to escape, get kidnapped again, barely beat Prowler to escape, clear the streets of both Underground and Roxxon at the same time, and finally face off with the Tinkerer. My heart sinks when I take damage right away when I lose sight thanks to a camera error and nearly die a moment later when I lose sight of her and miss time my dodge, but I refuse to go down. Instead, I launch an onslaught of repeated Venom attacks, moving us to the next phase, which heals me back up. This phase goes much better, and her third phase also flies by without incident. In her fourth and final phase, I barely controlled my worry as she landed 2 hard hits, and knowing her third would likely end me, I hurried to finish it with a well-timed Venom Punch. With that Venom Punch done, Tinker unleashed waves of killer spiky wheels, but these are easy to dodge, and after repeating a few waves of those, victory is mine. Phew! That was a close, hard fight. I think my soul left my body a couple times, but success was mine. With her defeat, Harlem is saved, Roxxon CEO is jailed, and I get the best outfit of the game. The only bad side of this amazing outfit is how long it takes to get it. But at least I get to bond with Spider-Man the cat as I track down postcards from Miles' dad, the last task of the game. With one final sad but heartwarming moment seeing the family Miles used to have, we can say, huzzah! After 51 hours and 10 minutes, with the final run taking 6 hours and 54 minutes, and a total of 10 deaths, we've 100%ed Spider-Man Miles Morales without dying or healing. I have to be honest, after beating the first Spider-Man game without taking damage even once, I thought this would not be so hard to pull off. Obviously I was mistaken, but it was a blast, and I'm glad I got to go on this journey with one of my favorite characters. I hope you enjoyed coming along too, faithful viewer. Now maybe go reach out to someone you haven't talked to in a while. It could stop them from becoming a supervillain. Who knows? Have a spectacular day, friends.